Thinking about leaving your soul-sucking 9 to 5 job, one of the biggest struggles I see people, especially as women, face is the idea of having that safety net, that enticing perks and benefits, and listening to that head trash of what will people think if I leave. I totally get it, and I've been where you are. That's why I created a free guide to help you if you're thinking about putting in that notice. It's called Unlocking Your Exit Plan. Discover 5 things you need to do before leaving your 9 to 5. This guide is filled with worksheets and steps so you will have hand holding along the way. You can download your copy in the link in the show notes, and again, it's totally free. Now back to today's episode. Hey there, let's face it. Today's internet world is so saturated and everyone is fighting for that number one spot to be visible. It is no longer about running ads and having thousands of people on your email list. It is about building relationships and networking with others to grow your business and become visible. Hi, my name is Candace. I'm a podcast launch strategist and I help service-based business owners develop and deliver their message to the world by using platforms like podcasting and bringing valuable content to those who need to hear what they have to say. Welcome to the Hello C.S. Dorsey podcast. Welcome back to another special episode of the Hello C.S. Dorsey podcast. I am here doing a audio summit and I'm talking to other podcasters who utilize their podcasts to basically grow their business. And I'm here with Elizabeth at the Absolute Marketing Podcast. How are you doing today, Elizabeth?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. So could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do?
Well, I have been in business for 13 years and I am a marketer. And what I do is help my clients to create 1 year of marketing in 5 days.
What?
That's the reaction I usually get.
Oh my goodness, we definitely need to talk after this.
That's also the reaction I usually get. And the podcast is done. You've just solved the entire problem which I came to talk about.
It's around mic drop. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so before I get into the details of things, could you talk a little bit more about, not to give out too much information, but what that 5-day marketing plan actually looks like?
Yes. So it's so much fun. I love my job and I get to do this every day, which is amazing. And I have for the past 13 years. I'm actually a web marketer from when I was 14 years old. I started building websites. And, for the last 20 or so years, I pretty much did it the way everybody else does it. You build a website, it takes about 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks. If you build a big one, it might take you 3 months. And then you turn it over to the client and everything's fine, right? Well, no, clients don't have time for that. Small businesses, of which I am one, and I should know, we don't have time for that kind of stuff. And so for when I built my business, I actually built my own formulas that streamlined my entire marketing process for myself. I just thought, I'll do this for me. It's not a big deal. It's just kind of just easy the way I do it. And then when I started building clients' sites, I realized that they would basically put me off and procrastinate me and my helping them until day 29 of our 30-day contract. Then they would flood my inbox with everything that they had and everything that they thought they needed. And then they would say, build it, build it, build it, build it. And I would literally pull all-nighters at the end of each month after being stressed out for 30 days and just build them their website and then hand it over to them and then move on to the next person and literally live the nightmare all over again. So about 3 years ago, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I decided that I wanted to take everything off my website, all of my marketing, everything was down. And I only put up one thing, website in a day. And after I did that successfully for 5 or 6 clients, I said, you know what? I can do social media in a day and blogging in a day. And I started all these pieces and I realized the 5 pieces that I recommended for clients could actually be 5 days. And so now I have Absolute Marketing and I've had that for several years. And it's a 5-day system starting with branding. And in branding day, we create your message and your logo and your colors and we write an ebook. And then day 2, we work on your website and build it from scratch. And it's completed by the end of the day. Day 3 is 12 months of social media, which could be up to 365 individual posts that we create and schedule. And then day 4 is 12 months of blog posts, which we write, create, and schedule. And then day 5 is an email funnel or email campaigns, depending on what your business is. We're going to create up to 1 year's worth of those for your business, right? Written, created, and scheduled.
Oh my goodness. No, that's just awesome. I love it so much. And I'm going off topic like I always do. Everybody knows this about me on my podcast. I have squirrel moments, so please bear with me. It's so funny that you're talking about this because I've been looking into like intensives and everything, for podcasting and what you're doing. It sounds kind of similar in a way that an intensive, but it's like you're spreading it out over 5 days. And how are you like scheduling everything, or is it like I have so many questions. I really do. So so how are you scheduling everything, like your clients, and maintain that process?
Well, I only take on certain clients. So I do a 15-minute phone call, and within that 15 minutes, I will know if that's the right client for me or not. And, it's not a cheap process. It's not something that everybody's, beating down the door for $50 to get in. It's a little bit higher of a price point, but to be basically rid of all of that for an entire year, it's so worth it. And, I've been done research and looked at some of the studies that have been done about entrepreneurs, and we spend about 20 hours a week marketing and dealing with our marketing and worrying about posting and thinking about what we're going to write, and then writing it and then scheduling it and then making up a graphic. And so all of that is done. And this is not just, hey, here's a plan, have fun. No, this is written, implemented, scheduled, designed, done. You don't have to touch it for a year if you didn't want to. That's how far we go with it. Everything is completed, and a lot of people don't believe me until they actually do it, and I've got testimonials for the unbelievers. But it's definitely a long process. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's just like I want to get people that win and help them to see that they can accomplish these things and they can do it themselves. I'm there to be more of that technical guide and that business coach to kind of point them in the right direction. But ultimately, all the decisions are theirs, and I'm more there to help them just make that stuff happen. We're working together, and, I schedule people. If you wanted to work a week with me, I'm booking about 3 weeks out right now. So you'd have to wait 3 weeks. And that's sometimes like, hey, I'll wait 3 weeks if I can get all this done for a year. That's so worth it. So that's how I do that.
Definitely is. So how do you use your podcast to grow your current business?
I don't do anything traditionally anymore. So I had to do my podcast differently also. I actually host a 2-minute podcast.
What?
It's 2 minutes. I love it. And the reason I did that is because I kind of took the same idea from when I did my Absolute Marketing System. And I had done podcasts in the past. I had one about women entrepreneurs. I used to run a bunch of networking groups. I used to run 13 networking groups a month. I did that for 2 years. And each of my groups, I would record a session with the speaker, and, I would do all this stuff, and I would have to do the editing, and then I would have the intros and the outros. And, I did all these different podcasts, but I never stuck with any of them. And I realized it was because everyone said, well, your podcast needs to be 30 minutes or more. It needs to have an intro and outro and music and da-da-da. And I was like, I can't keep up with that. That's not how my life works. And so when I started my podcast this time around, beginning of 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own terms, and I'm going to just give 2-minute tips, and I'm going to record like 30 of them at a time. And I record them on my iPhone, actually. And I found an amazing piece of editing software that I use. And all the tools that I use actually are on my website, getabsolutemarketing.com. There's links and everything, and why I use the tools, and how much they cost and everything. All that's there. But I found this really awesome recording system. Well, I just use the one on my phone, and then I shove it into my editor, and it spits out this fully done podcast within like less than 10 minutes. And then I upload it to Podbean, and away I go. And that's it. So it takes me to do an entire season of podcasts, to find the material, to record them, to edit them, and to publish them or schedule them. It takes me probably a good 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
That's really good. I really like how you streamline everything. And I love how you just said, you know what, I'm just going to do this on my own terms. I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. And I think that's wonderful because what we get hung up so much is what other people are doing or the way people are doing things traditionally. And everybody is doing pretty much the same thing the same way, not necessarily had given the same message, but we have that intro. Then, they have the interview where they talk about whatever, whatever they're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the middle of it, that's when they have the segment where they have the sponsor, they go on with the interview or their episode. Then you have the outro at the end. And we get hung up on that so much. And trust me, someone told me, this is like early on in my episodes last year. And one of my guests said, I said, yeah, I'm doing this. And gave her a list of everything I was doing by myself. She said, girl, you are killing yourself. I was like, what?
Yep.
She said, you are killing yourself. She said, let the interviews flow. And ever since then, I said, okay, we're going to be human about this. We're going to have
Mm-hmm.
everything natural. I said, we could do a little bit of editing if for some reason I have a brain mishap and I pause and I stutter on my words. We probably could clean it up a little bit. But I tell my guests, if you cough, it's okay. If you
Right.
it's okay. If your kids are in the background crying or whatever, it's okay because it's the time where everybody's at home and the kids are going to be at home. And if, the kids run up
Mm-hmm.
to them, ask them a question, I'm not going to edit that out. We're humans, So I am so down with the non-traditional podcast. I wish I can give you a virtual high five. Seriously.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Okay. So what 3 takeaways can you give to our listeners out there?
Well, you asked the first question about monetizing or using it for my business, and I think the first one is to do your own thing. That's my first thing. You need to do your own thing. And if that's, a podcast where you only sing everything, I don't know, like it could be anything you want. It's really up to you what it should be. And so I think you should do your own thing. That's the first one. The second one is don't go into debt over this. This is not worth going into debt over, meaning don't try and use the fanciest tools just because someone told you to use the fanciest tools. I mean,
That's
literally, I record my podcast on my freaking iPhone into the voice messages section. It's clear, it's crisp. I hold my phone like a microphone in front of me and I record away. I can see the timer so I know if I'm close to my 2-minute mark. I can record, like I said, 20 or 30 of them at a time for an entire season. It's just so simple. And then the other tools that I use, while I do pay for them, I researched the heck out of them and found the best ones to use. So, don't have to be like buying the latest microphone and this, hanging thing and that computer software. Like, I just say, don't worry about that. I've literally recorded podcasts with my clients. We do a podcasting day as well, and I'll record 5 episodes with them. We'll write the episodes, we'll do the intros, we'll do everything in that one day just to get them started. And they're like, it's this easy? And I'm like, yes, you don't have to be crazy about it. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is for monetization, I've actually found that this is my new networking. I used to be a mad networker. I mean, I was actually called the queen of networking in my town. I actually networked 3 times a day for a year. And I ate a lot of food. I gained a lot of weight, but I networked 3 times a day because I wanted to be really well known in my city. And the culmination of that was after the year was up and I knew I was going to kind of slow down on the networking a little bit. I went to this one meeting. It was all these women. It was about, I think, 110 women that were in the room. And I was the last one to give my 30-second pitch. And I just stood up and I literally looked around the room and I said, does anybody here not know who I am? And one person raised their hand and everyone laughed. And I said, all right, I'll just talk to you after. And I sat down and everybody laughed because they knew exactly who I was because I had networked so much. And so I'm kind of doing the same thing with podcasting. I'm going on so many. I think I'm close to 100 for the year. I'm going on so many because I just want to meet people and talk with people. I mean, I can't obviously talk to your listeners and like have them respond to me, but I can talk to you and have you respond to me. And I can share what I do with you. and maybe you know someone that could benefit from that, or maybe you could benefit from that. And now all of your listeners also know about that. So I've been using this as my own form of networking, and I apply to 3 to 4 podcasts a day, and I get about 5 to 6 invitations a week. And then I actually record between 5 and 10 podcasts a week, depending on how far out the recordings are. So, I'm telling people to go for it, to get on as many podcasts as you can. And what people are going to see from that is, man, she's everywhere. I heard her on 10 different podcasts. So that's my goal, is to use it for that. And I encourage others to use it for networking, to use it for marketing in that way, and to just genuinely offer education and help people to realize that there's more out there, and there's more things they can do on their own and at home to actually basically rebuild their lives in a virtual sense.
I love it so much. Podcasting is the new network. And like you stated, it's so awesome, because when I first started out, I didn't even know anything about podcasting or anything like that, but I knew how to get on Craigslist. I say this all the time. I say this actually in the previous audio interview that I had, but I knew how to get on Craigslist and find out if there was any authors that wanted to get their book like on my blog and have an interview and everything. And I would just do that for free, of course. And it was that way, the way that I did that actually helped me get my first client, because I started off trying to do virtual assistant, and doing it that way actually gave me my first client. And I was like, that worked for me in the past. I was like, but I want to do it more like a audio. And I was like, oh, Candace, that's a podcast. Okay. I was like, I got to figure this thing out, because my thing was, I want to get more clients. I want to network with more people, and grow my business. So I kind of flipped it from a blog to the audio part, and I was just networking with other authors. But I was like, you know what? Authors are entrepreneurs as well. So I was like, let's just open this space up and just have it as entrepreneurs. And that's when things just kind of like got big for me. And I was doing like maybe 3 to 4 interviews per week. And I've met so many amazing women and people. And now when I send them an email, they like, oh, that's Candace. They know who I am off the bat, so that's the beauty of it. I love it so much. I can talk for days. You wouldn't tell by looking at me, seriously. I used to be a serious introvert. I don't know how I got to be like this. So could you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes, my website is getabsolutemarketing.com, and you can find a lot of information about Absolute Marketing there, about how the days work, what we include, and you can also find the free toolkit that I mentioned, which is all the tools that I use, all the links and information about how I use those tools. And I've also just launched a 5-day marketing fix, where I've created 5 separate videos that you can watch, one each day, and work on each portion of your marketing that we cover in our Absolute Marketing. So it'll go through branding, website, social media, blogging, and email marketing. And it's just if you've been in business for a little while and you've started some marketing things, or maybe you've been in business for a long time like me, and you've been through kind of a lot of different iterations of your marketing, this is kind of let's get back to basics. Let's kind of clear the slate and see what you really have going on, and see if there's some way we can get that to be punched up a little, and also just adapt it for this virtual world that we're living in. A lot of people, I think, and me, I was one of them, I thought this is all going to kind of blow over after a while, but we're still kind of in it. So yes. It's kind of like, okay, well, now we got to fix that. We got to do something about that for ourselves. So I've been trying to help people that haven't quite made that total virtual jump to actually go there with their marketing. So, and then of course, I have a course coming out in a few weeks, and also we do one-on-one coaching. So if someone's not ready to do the full implementation, or maybe they have a team with them, I'll do coaching with the owner, and then they can delegate the items to the team and have the team do the implementation. So we do a lot of different things with that and try to help people where they are.
That's amazing. That is so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed myself. I really have. And this one, I was like, what? In 5 days? My mind is still blown, I'm telling you. That truly is awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this special edition of the Hello CS Drexy podcast, and we will stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Hey, did you like this episode? Don't forget to subscribe and share, and also drop me a line or two. I will love to hear your feedback in the review. Thank you.